Meanwhile, President Trump facing continuous opposition from the left. Democratic lawmakers delaying cabinet confirmations and then courts, of course, now overturning executive orders. Joining us now, political analyst and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. Leslie, we know blocking, tackling, obstruct, object. It's delayed the Trump administration, but I think it's done more harm to the reputation of Democrats.
Oh, Charles, I love you, but may I pause for laughing? Absolutely not. I'm sorry. Donald Trump is doing more harm to the Republican Party and to the American people. And as a matter of fact, when you look at the thousands that are showing up at town halls as opposed to 30 or 40 people a year or two ago, those are constituents, many of which are Republicans that are yelling because they don't feel that they're getting what they were promised by their candidate, and not just the president, but by their representatives in both the House and the Senate.
Well, Leslie, I love you, but I'm crying because I'm watching the opposition party act like babies, and I'm watching the grandstanding like the Elizabeth Warrens taking a Coretta Scott King piece from 30 years ago, and I just see them adding elements to the national conversation that aren't designed to heal, but further inflict wounds and animosity.
You know, Charles, I'm old enough to remember when is a little hashtag on Twitter, and I'm old enough to remember when a Republican white male member of Congress yelled to the commander-in-chief, the first African-American, "You're a liar." I am old enough to remember when the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, said that he was going to make it his job to make Barack Obama a one-term president, and that he and his party were going to obstruct and block every piece of legislation that the president and the Democrats put forward.
This stroll down memory lane is nice, and remember, people were upset when that happened. People say you never disrespect the president in that particular situation. No one applauded those actions. No one applauded those actions. So,
but there are people that have applauded Elizabeth Warren being silenced, Charles. There are people that have applauded Elizabeth Warren being silenced. And I got to tell you, as a woman, I don't care what political party you're from. As a woman, I don't care what political party you're from. You do not, in a sense, tell a woman, shut up and take your seat, which I think is how many people perceive that.
Diss people to the point where you're smearing their reputation. Your gender shouldn't protect you from that.
Why is it that reading a letter or even reading the testimony of two individuals years ago that weighed heavily on the decision at the time to not go forward during the Reagan administration with Jeff Sessions at a higher level as a federal judge back then? Why, Charles, why are facts going to be dismissed because somebody's spouse who's in the room might be offended? Left or right, I personally think the facts should be presented.
Because it was disingenuous. It was 30 years ago, and if we're evaluating the measure of a man, we should evaluate his complete life and his complete works. He was lauded by Coretta Scott King. He was awarded by the NAACP. I just think everything shouldn't boil down to being a racial, anti-woman sort of vendetta, because it's not working. Listen, I want to share this with you. I want your opinion on this. I want to show you some videos. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos being blocked by protesters from entering Jefferson Middle School. More obstruction. Leslie, I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, Charles, the last time I checked, we are a great nation, the greatest nation in the world. One of the things that makes us great is that First Amendment, that we have the ability to protest. And I'm sorry, but if you're in political office, left or right, if you're going to say things or propose things like eliminating an entire Department of Education or public school systems as we know it, people are going to be angry. Remember, there are thousands of people that love the public education their children receive and don't want vouchers and don't want charter schools. And like it the way it is right now. And that's a majority of parents in the United States.
I'm not sure if you were able to see the video, though, Leslie, because what we saw wasn't protest. It was intimidation, physical intimidation. And there's a distinction between the two.
That's wrong and unacceptable. That is wrong and unacceptable. One of the things that I pride myself as a liberal, that I'm a pacifist. I do not support violence or a verbal or physical threat of violence of any kind. And the First Amendment does not cover that either.
All right, Leslie, it's always a pleasure talking to you. And hopefully when you come to New York, you come visit me. All right, see you soon.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.